Greetings and salutations, viewers and listeners. Welcome to another episode of Game Break. I am Charles, coming to you today with another episode of Without Within 2. Now, last time round, we made it all the way to the convention. And Excelia even showed up finally, at the very end. I believe we were going to kick things off by seeing her at work. So how about we dive right back in and see where things go from here. Excelia's hair billowed in the afternoon breeze. The crowd fell quiet as she put down her container, opened the lid, and dipped her brush into the ink. On YouTube, I had seen recordings of Excelia at work, but because they were filmed in secret, the footage always came out blurry. Which pixel is Excelia, as the comments always read. Today, I could at last study Excelia's techniques firsthand. No way would I allow myself to even blink. Excelia stamped her feet together and closed her eyes. I could almost hear the audience swallowing in anticipation. Even the nearby road drivers poked their heads out of the window to see what was going on. Excelia lifted her shoe off the ground as if trying to squash a bug. As she stomped onto the pavement, she swung her brush and delivered the first stroke. Never before have I seen such smooth wrist motion. The stroke came out in a perfect curve. Plus, that ink thickened and thinned at just the right points. Not a single drop of stray ink on the page. One of the staff covered her mouth as tears streamed down her cheeks. My works had made people laugh when they saw the screw-ups, but never before had they moved anyone to tears. All this time, I had tried to convince myself that Excelia only reached her status through hype. Now, I witnessed firsthand that she possessed skills I lacked even in my dreams. If Excelia were a 60-year-old veteran, I could have accepted it. She was, however, only a year older than I. No way could I reach her level in 12 months. Not even if I quit my job and trained full-time. This must be what they call talent. I had the heart to climb, but without any gift, I might as well be scaling a tower with a stepladder. How I wished we could all have been born equal. Excelia continued to swing her brush in rhythm as if performing a dance. That crying staff from earlier had passed out completely. With strokes this precise, I suspected Excelia might actually be a robot, but her lines also possessed a human quality that machines could never replicate. Another staff, with tears in her eyes, picked up a mic from the table and spoke with her cracking voice. And now, it brings me great pleasure to present this highlight video of Miss Excelia. The staff pointed towards a widescreen standing on top of a stage. We turned our attention to the display and waited for the film to roll. At such a young age, Excelia had already achieved enough to warrant a highlight video. No wonder why so many people envied her. What about my video? Getting trolled on the streets, being late for work, becoming a YouTube sensation. That last one sounded nice on the surface, at least. The screen switched on, showing the top of Excelia's head. This footage was shaking so much that I wondered if the cameraman was a toddler. I could barely pick out anything in the video. The film stabilized after a few seconds, and I saw some calligraphies painted along a brick wall behind Excelia. This looked like Hosier Lane, one of the first places I had visited yesterday. In this video, however, those calligraphies on the wall had yet to be smeared. Excelia panted as she turned left and right, looking like she had just escaped from a stalker. The camera showed no one else on the scene, though. Excelia's lips twisted into a grin that was seeping with venom. Her mouth opened up and revealed a fanged tooth in the corner of her lips. So that explained why she never showed her teeth on TV. The viewers gasped as Excelia picked up a brush and smudged white ink all over the wall calligraphies. She painted with none of the grace she had shown in her live performance. In the footage, she looked like me when I was scrubbing the restaurant toilets during work. So Excelia was the one who had wiped those calligraphies away. But why? Surely she could have left that dirty work to one of the staff here. Speaking of staff, this footage left them all looking confused. Maybe they had put in the wrong tape, because this sure looked nothing like a highlight video. Ooh. A female calligrapher marched up to the staff holding the mic. With a grunt, she yanked the mic out of the staff's hands. "I'm the one who recorded this footage in secret and swapped out the disc," the calligrapher said. "Watch closely, everyone. Excelia is about to show her true colors." This video cut to Excelia in her limousine. That hotel in the backdrop looked like a mansion seen in movies. A guard opened the limousine door and offered a hand. Excelia flicked her hair as she climbed out, ignoring the hand like it was a worm. "Madam, how many accounts should we create?" the guard asked. "At least 3 each," Excelia said. "Make sure you write each post in a different tone." "Wow, this calligrapher begged Excelia for a plug. Shameless much?" the guard said. "How's that?" Excelia yawned as she strode into her hotel. "It'll do." I recalled reading that exact comment on my Reddit thread. Those guards wrote all of the replies? Not only that, but they did so based on Excelia's orders. Did she want to banish me from the calligraphy world that badly? The film cut to a shot of Fed Square. Excelia walked into the scene with a guard by her side and a third one carrying a roll of parchment. Hey, this happened moments ago. This stalker must be a pro, being able to edit the film and replace the highlight tape in such short time. Excelia put on a smirk and once again flashed her fanged tooth. It only lasted for a moment, which must be why I missed it in person earlier. Excelia jerked her chin, and the guard swerved into the parchments laid out by us calligraphers. I looked away from the screen to stare at the footprints smudged across my page. Without the video, I would have written this off as an accident. Now I knew what Excelia was really about. The film cut out and the calligraphers on scene erupted into boos. One of them crushed his parchment into a ball and threw it at Excelia. Many other calligraphers followed suit as they too rolled their pages into projectiles. Many people clicked away with their cameras, some used their phones, while others brought professional cameras with them. There must be a good few journalists hiding within the crowd. Excelia's guards closed in around her, forming a human shield as paper balls rained upon their heads. As Excelia opened her mouth to whimper, I saw she did indeed have a fanged tooth, but she had bigger problems to cower over right now. With her usual sparkle gone, Excelia looked so frail inside this angry mob. Some of these calligraphers were middle-aged men, yet they showed no shame in hurling papers at a lady. I glanced down at my parchment, pondering if I too should let Excelia know how I felt. With her planting thorns in my path, no wonder why I bled with every step I took. Enough was enough. I decided I must let my feelings be known. After picking up my ink container and brush, I stalked up to Excelia. A few stray paper balls hit me behind the head, but I paid them no heed. Oh, ho, 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 those are fightin' actions. I threw my ink container onto Excelia's parchment, staining her work in a pool of black. The crowd ceased their paper assault and watched as I scribbled my brush all over Excelia's page until her work had been smeared beyond recognition. Satisfied with the damage, I tossed my brush onto the parchment. I've always wanted to do that. With all eyes now glued onto me, I could feel my cheeks reddening. Of all the times I could have picked to snap, I had to choose the biggest calligraphy event of this year. At this rate, another dubstep remix might be imminent. Hey! A female voice called out. Turned around and saw a lady waving my piece of work in the air. It was one of those girls I had met on the sky deck yesterday. Oh. The girl tore my page into halves, then quarters. 3 hours of work ripped to shreds, yet the corner of my lips twitched in a smile. That paper already had footprints all over it. If this girl wanted to upset me, she would have to try a little harder. Another calligrapher yanked away someone else's parchment before folding it into a plane. He threw the plane skyward and it came spiraling down, summing up this whole event rather nicely. Once that plane crashed onto the pavement, it was on. The calligraphers destroyed one another's works in whatever way they saw fit. Some even folded them into origami. One guy tore the paper in his hands into edible sizes and, well, started eating them. He might as well check himself into a hospital now. Another man tried feeding his paper scraps to a pigeon. Fortunately, the bird flew off as if to say, ain't nobody got time for that. The staff traded baffled looks, perhaps unsure whether to intervene or join in. Sorry, but only those in the trenches had the right to participate. About time we stopped acting like pals and admitted we were adversaries. Ink marks covered Excelia's cheeks from the earlier assault. As her guards brushed away the stains with towels, she stood stiff with a confused expression that satisfied me greatly. With no pages left to destroy, the madness came to an end at last. The maniacal laughter settled into awkward giggles, followed by silence. I bet all of the calligraphers here regretted their outburst to some level. One calligrapher picked up her bag and crossed the road to leave Fed Square. With that, everyone else started to follow. The autograph and Q&A sessions must be cancelled then. Even the staff started to pack away their equipment. Soon the entire crowd had dispersed. Torn scraps of paper littered the plaza, serving as the only evidence of this event ever taking place. The cleaner would probably drop by later and stick all of our names onto voodoo dolls. I kinda started the whole thing, so let me be the one to apologize. Birds chirped as they continued to search for food scraps around Fed Square. Meanwhile, I gazed up to see the sun had already begun its descent. A large bell chimed to my right, and I assumed it came from that church on the street opposite. My return flight took off at 7 a.m. tomorrow, so I had best get an early sleep. Excuse me. I put on my backpack and shuffled up to the crossing. As I waited for the light to turn green, I peered over my shoulder at Excelia. She sat on the stairs of Fed Square with her hands wrapped around herself. With her head hanging low, she looked like a child who had just lost her mother. Now that Excelia no longer had her sparkle, the pedestrian strolled by without even noticing her. This must be how I looked when I tried to sell my calligraphies on the street. All this time, I had wanted to swap places with Excelia, even if it must come at her expense. Now that she had collapsed face first off of her pedestal, why did I find myself frowning? Just as the light turned green, I spun around and returned to Excelia's side. As I took a seat on the stairs beside her, she waved her guards off. You guys head back to the hotel first.
But Miss Excelia,
I said leave! The guards traded uncertain looks before retreating into their limousine as ordered. As the car drove off, I wondered if those guards cared for Excelia or were simply worried about keeping their jobs. Just one mistake and it's all over, Excelia said. She smiled, but the way her lips quivered told me she was fighting back tears. You saw how I tried to ruin your career, Vinty. Go on, make fun of me. I stayed silent for a while, as if trying to think of a witty insult. After some thought, the right words came to me. Let me shout you to that meal I'd promised, I said. Excelia blinked at me, looking confused, as if we no longer spoke the same language. I got up, patted dirt off my bottom, and offered Excelia a hand. I pulled her up by force and dragged her into the tram. The carriages looked even more packed than they did this morning. All these people in suits must be on their way home after a long day of work. I tapped on with the Mikey card, and at least Excelia still had enough awareness to do the same. After putting the card back into my wallet, I pulled Excelia deeper into the carriage. Excelia tucked herself into a corner with her shoulders hunched, looking like a puppy strapped onto a roller coaster. For the whole ride, neither of us said a word. I twiddled my thumbs as I questioned if I had been too forceful. Once we crossed the bridge, the time had come for us to alight. This time, Excelia tapped off and followed me out of the tram on her own. We crossed the road and walked into the restaurant where I had dinner last night. As soon as I entered, the cashier lady grinned like she had reunited with an old friend. Vinty! Excelia turned to me with her eyes slightly widened. For once, I felt like I was the celebrity instead of her. I had flies rather than sparkles buzzing around me, but oh well. With my head held high, I led Excelia up to a nearby table. The cushion on one of the chairs looked torn, so I took that seat and saved the better one for Excelia. But they were probably all trash in her eyes. Ah! I did not click save, I clicked next. Once we both sat, the restaurant lady came over to hand us a menu each. Hey, Vinty, this a friend of yours? I nodded. This is Excelia. The lady put a hand over her lips. Shit! The famous calligrapher? I've seen her in commercials and stuff. Damn! I can't do that high pitch of a voice. That's awkward. Hopefully I don't have to do that too much. Excelia lifted her brows, no doubt surprised that a waitress would drop an S-bomb on her customers. That would never happen in those 5-star restaurants Excelia frequented. Excelia grimaced as she read through the menu. Now she knew how I felt when I was looking at that menu on a plane. She had probably never seen these common folk dishes in her life. "The beef noodle here is pretty good," I said. I'll go with that, then," Excelia said, handing her menu back to the lady. I ordered a plate of fried rice before returning my menu as well. "Won't be long, Hans," the lady said and jogged back behind her counter. Keeping to her word, she came out and delivered our dishes in under 5 minutes. "What a massive bowl," Excelia muttered, staring at the beef noodles on her table. "It must be really expensive." $10 if I recall correctly," I said. Excelia gasped. "What a bargain!" More like those fancy restaurants were rip-offs, I thought, but I kept that opinion to myself. As I ate my fried rice, I stole a few glances at Excelia. I had feared she might hate the lowly dish, but if so, she sure ate it up real fast. When Excelia finished, she let out a burp that I never would have associated with a star. For a second she slouched back on her wooden chair, but she straightened again right away with flushed cheeks. Tonight, I caught Excelia trying to act like one of us, not the other way around. That made me smile and realize how silly I must have looked when I tried to copy her every move. As I finished my rice, Excelia took out her platinum card. I shook my head and pulled a couple of notes from my wallet. Even if Excelia insisted on paying, this place might not actually have a card reader. I wondered how long it had been since she had paid for anything with cash. Excelia followed me up to the counter while I paid for our meals. As she whispered thank you, I felt like I was the big sister for the change. Yes, I knew Excelia was a head taller, but just play along. "I'm flying home tomorrow morning," I told the lady as I paid her. "Hopefully I'll have a chance to visit again." The lady wrapped both of her hands around mine. "You're always welcome here. Maybe we can have a cuppa together. Sometime." I went way too high-pitched for this one. I don't want her to talk too much. I had no idea what a cuppa was, but I still smiled and nodded. With her hands on top of mine, I noticed this lady had a couple of chipped nails that might have broke during work. Still, I found her more attractive than any of those fashion model wannabes I met on the sky deck. This lady pretty much took her heart out and left it on the table for me to hug. Perhaps she only acted this way in the name of business, but I wanted to believe it was genuine. If I ever visited Melbourne again, I vowed to drop by for another meal. "Can I know your name?" "It's Grace," the lady said, sending us off with a grin. "See you around, Vinty, and you as well, Excelia." That is really hard. I don't like having that high-pitched voice. We need less high-pitched women voices to deal with on these games. The wind chimes jingled as I pushed the door open and stepped out. Excelia trailed me up the closest tram stop across the road. Leaves rustled in the trees above as she sat onto a set of stairs nearby. Cars drove by and honked in the distance, but not one of them passed the road before us. I rolled a pebble under my shoe, unsure of what to say. When the honks of an oncoming tram sounded in the distance, I pulled out the Mikey card from my wallet. Too bad I must leave tomorrow because I had grown quite comfortable with the routine here. Excelia, meanwhile, remained rooted on the flight of stairs. The oncoming tram slowed to a near stop, even though I never gave it any signal. When the driver met my gaze, I shook my head and made a little bow in apology. The driver drove on with a shrug, leaving Excelia and I behind. It's over," Excelia said, squeezing her robe like it was a stress ball. "A decade of work erased by just one error. I am a disgrace to my family. Your family? Are you doing this for them or for yourself? I asked, putting my hands over my hips. Excelia opened her mouth but afforded no response. After huffing out a long breath, I continued. I've seen the way you smile when you work. There's no way you'd make a face like that if you hated calligraphy. Excelia's shoulders convulsed, looking like she wanted to cry. Maybe I had gone too far with my words. It no longer matters whether I like calligraphy or not, Excelia said. After what happened today, I'll be driven out of the industry. I'll bet they're flaming me everywhere as we speak. For a second, I wanted to tell her it was karma, but I managed to swallow the words. Even if it hurt like plucking splinters, I wanted to rid my heart of these grudges. I pulled out my phone and hopped onto a daily news site. As I had expected, the chaos today made it onto the front page.
Excelia exposed,
the headline read, but the article had only 2 likes and over 100 thumbs down. I scrolled down to the comments section and read exactly what I had anticipated. With a smile, I flipped the phone around for Excelia to see. Latest comment. Best show ever! I got quite a lot out of it. The calligraphers there were all so sweet. Really proud to be in this circle. Another clickbait headline. Voted down. Come on. Good luck to Excelia and everyone else who showed up today. Hashtag haters gonna hate. Excelia squeezed her eyes shut as tears rolled down her cheeks. I leaned in to coil my arms around her while she wept. I don't want to quit calligraphy. Excelia managed to speak through her tears. There were, in fact, plenty of hateful comments on that page, but the majority of us understood. I stroked Excelia's hair while her sobs settled into whimpers. Good thing the streets looked deserted, or this would be all over the news. When Excelia's name came up, people thought of the face that graced banners all over. Men liked to swap their head with those of nude models. I'd almost forgotten she was a person above all else. If I could snatch away Excelia's status and claim it for my own, I might sell my soul for the chance. Excelia shared my passion for calligraphy, yet I was willing to rob her right to pursue what she loved. I let go of Excelia as she brushed away the last of her tears. The way her lower lip stuck out told me she must have forced herself to calm down for my sake. I stroked a hand across Excelia's arm in farewell. It's been a fun 2 days. I'm glad I came. With that, I turned to check the tram timetable printed on the lamppost, but Excelia grabbed my hand from behind. I'll drive you home. There's no need. My hotel's nearby. Anyway, I said. Excelia ignored me and still made a phone call. In under 5 minutes, her limousine pulled up in front of us. The driver exited his car to open the front passenger door for Excelia. As Excelia climbed in, she lowered her head at the 3 guards sitting inside. That must be your apology for the outburst from earlier. Really, my hotel's close, I said, waving my hands to decline this offer. Really? Just get in. Excelia seized my wrist and pulled me into the car as if she was kidnapping me. After going back into his limousine, the driver glanced over his shoulder and asked if I knew the way. I gave him a nod. Just go straight ahead. The driver did as told and pressed his shoe against the pedal. After our car passed the first set of lights, I said, "And we're here." I guess it really is pretty close, Excelia said, chuckling awkwardly as the limousine parked outside my hotel. Excelia clapped her hands, and her driver darted out to open the door for me. I muttered thanks as I climbed out, feeling spoiled like those rich brats that I always envied. The driver pushed the door closed before returning onto his seat. I'd hoped the hotel staff might peek out and mistake me for a celebrity, but the only thing that greeted me was the evening wind. Excelia lowered her windshield and her hair flowed under the breeze as she beamed. I'll always remember what you did for me today. Sure, that's cool. Way to leave a lasting impression, Vinty. I should have thought of what to say as farewell beforehand. Excelia pulled her windshield up and the tinted glass now blocked out her face. I stood and watched as the limousine performed a U-turn and drove off towards the city. As I walked back into my hotel, I wondered if this might be my last face-to-face meeting with Excelia. And we're going to have to see what the full fallout of all of that is next time, because we are out of time for this episode. So it looks like Excelia's reign has a chink in it. It is not as perfect as previously thought, and who knows, maybe they'll become friends, and if she took down Vinty specifically, Vinty must have some level of skill beyond standard, hey, I figured out how to do this. So, hey, you never know, there's potential. We'll have to see how all this plays out next episode. Until then, thank you all for joining me. Go click that subscribe button so you can check out all of the other videos that we've been up to and be notified when new videos go up. And by all means, post in the comments, what do you think of this series so far? What do you think of Game Break so far and everything else? Continue the discussions in the comments below, and I will see you all next time.